Azula was set up for failure from the beginning. Azula would make a terrible hero, but she doesn't have to be the villain. Azula may get a chance at redemption in the new graphic novel. Azula. One of, if not the most debated character in all of Avatar. Even more than a decade after the show has ended, people still talk about this one thing. Should Azula be redeemed? Not forgiven, but redeemed. Azula as a character is a lot more complicated than it first seems. Azula was originally the foil to Zuko's character. Everything Zuko wanted, Azula already had. She was their father's favorite, a prodigious bender and fighter, cunning and intelligent, and always decisive. Every movement Azula did was always made with intent. Whether it was social or combat, Azula always knew the best option. Or at least that's how it seems. As the story goes, Zuko loses his honor, and the only way to get it back, and his father's approval, is by killing the Avatar. But as time goes on, he realizes that he doesn't even like all the stuff that he's been yearning for. It was programmed into him, and eventually he joins the Avatar and his crew, then helps them take down his father and his sister, thus allowing him to finish his arc. In the beginning, all he wanted was to be like his sister, and be loved by his father, and in the end, he realizes the only way for him to become the person that he wants to be, and enjoys being, is by taking them down and growing past the world that he was conditioned to want from birth. Only by rejecting that world and choosing his own path does he become his own person. But this isn't about him. If it was, that'd be easy. His arc of redemption is literally in the show. He goes from hunting the Avatar to working with the Avatar. Cut and dry. Azula, however, is a different case. Azula, like stated earlier, is the foil to Zuko. She has everything he could ever want in the beginning. On top of being perfect, Azula is Zuko's younger sister. While most older siblings are guiding their younger siblings, helping them through the world, Zuko was envious of his sister. With help from her father, Azula was able to become higher in the social hierarchy. Zuko wasn't helping guide his younger sister, he was trailing behind her, trying to become like her. Azula as a villain is a lot different than many of the other villains throughout the series. Firstly, she's a child. To put it into context, Zuko was 13 when he fights his father in the Agni Kai and gets his scar. Azula is 1 year older at 14 during the course of the show. The gang often encounters enemies, but for the most part, they're usually adults. Admiral Zhao, the Dai Li, Hama, Sparky Boom Man, all adults. And when they do encounter enemies who are children, it's like Jet. And even Jet and his crew get their own redemptions and arcs, because, well, they're children. Unlike adults who are set in their ways, for the most part, children are malleable. They change and adapt very quickly. It's why coming-of-age stories are so popular. Growing and changing into a different person is part of the process of growing up. It comes with its own built-in character arc. Another thing is that Azula is incredibly powerful. While being strong isn't really uncommon for Avatar enemies, I mean, if you're holding your own against the master of all four elements, you're probably pretty strong. But Azula is uniquely powerful, to the point where she dwarfs other enemies. Even when Azula is cornered by the most powerful benders of her generation, legendary warriors who would shape the course of history, it still feels like she's the danger. That this is a bad situation for whoever is against her. Azula is the only firebender that we know of that uses blue flames. Even the friggin' Fire Lord doesn't do that. While Azula doesn't discover her own subclass of bending like Toph, or make unique techniques like Avatar Kyoshi with dust stepping, she does demonstrate that her pure output of power and skill is something that not many people can ever reach. Aside from being incredibly powerful, Azula is also impossibly intelligent, but in a very specific kind of way. When Azula takes over the Dai Li, essentially giving her control of the entire Earth Kingdom, she shows us that she's also a genius with regard to politics. She can twist and maneuver situations even without her strength to become the winner. Could Azula take over the Dai Li through force? Maybe, but she proves that she doesn't even need to, and outsmarts the main villain of the entire arc, a man whose entire life was dedicated to controlling the largest nation on the planet and its people, controlling the political process to do whatever he wanted, and creating a whole country in his own vision. And he was beaten by a 14-year-old girl and her friends.
You've beaten me at my own game.
Don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
She seems too perfect. Azula was born with prodigious amounts of skill that allow her to excel beyond even the best and brightest around her, all while still being a child. Anything that Azula can get her hands on will be hers and will be perfect. Even things that seem impossible are trivial to her. But that's where the problem arises. So when I said Azula is the opposite of Zuko, I meant that. While Zuko goes on his journey to improve and learn about himself, Azula pushes herself further down a line that even she knows is bad. While Zuko is built up slowly, Azula is torn down. Not to the same degree, mind you. It's one of the reasons that fans are craving more Azula content. Zuko's rise is slow, arduous, and long, so it feels earned. Meanwhile, Azula's downfall is quick. We barely get glimpses of her real personality before she is destroyed, and those small glimpses into the real her are what drive the discussions into whether or not she should be redeemed at all. Let's talk about a place that's very important to the Avatar series: Ember Island. Ember Island is the place where the gang gets a recap episode in the form of a play.
Your Zuko costume's pretty good, but your scar's on the wrong side.
The scar's not on the wrong side!
But it's also an island that Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee visit after Zuko is taken back by the Fire Nation. If you don't remember what happened, Azula supposedly kills Aang while he's in the Avatar state, thus killing him and ending the line of Avatars forever. Basically, she tells everybody that it was Zuko, and because of that, he's welcomed back into the Fire Nation as a hero. Also, Uncle Iroh is in prison. Zuko gets everything he's ever wanted, but finds out that he's unfulfilled and actually still hates his life. It fixes nothing for him. Great character arc for him, but anyways, Azula. The Fire Gang goes on a beach episode trip to Ember Island to relax and unwind. And this one episode, reveals more about Azula's character than every other episode before it combined. As a fun game, the gang goes undercover on the island. Instead of being known as the Imperial Prince and Princess plus friends, they're just normal rich Fire Nation kids. And this throws Azula for a loop as she has to be normal. We watch as Azula fumbles while trying to do things like flirt with a guy, leading to this legendary clip.
That's a sharp outfit, Chan. Careful, you could puncture the hull of an Empire-class Fire Nation battleship, leaving thousands to drown at sea. Because it's so sharp.
Or play a normal game of volleyball, or even handle envy in a normal and healthy way. Throughout this episode, Ty Lee gets the attention of many guys, while Azula only seems to push them away. For once, Azula is losing at something, and she has no idea why or how, and she takes it out on Ty Lee.
Those boys only like you because you make it so easy for them. You're a tease. It's not like they actually care who you are.
But then she immediately apologizes and reveals that she's actually jealous of her for once.
I just said it because I was a little jealous.
A rare moment where Azula is actually truthful and forthcoming about her feelings, and an even rarer apology. Azula is out of her element to the point where she's forced to be honest with herself and her friends about her feelings. Until she isn't. The last part of the night has the Fire Gang at a campfire bearing their hearts out to each other. Zuko and his partner Mai have been having problems recently. Zuko is mad at Mai because she hasn't subscribed to the Darnell's Love YouTube channel, like how you should be. Anyways, so Zuko uses this as an opportunity to be honest with her about how he feels about her and the relationship. Mai opens up about why she believes that she is the way that she is, which, by the way, this video isn't about her, but her monologue about how she has no sob story and got everything that she wanted by basically playing to her parents is actually very interesting. What she's essentially saying is that being the perfect daughter for her parents, she got everything that she wanted, so therefore she has no reason to be sad. But in reality, what this means is Mai never actually got to be her own person. She did get all the shiny things, but the cost she paid was never really living for herself and learning how to be her own person. Mai doesn't even realize how she's been deprived all her life. Mai believes that her privilege and access and her relatively calm life means that she has no real reason to feel as quote-unquote broken as the others. And without getting into discussions of class, she's just wrong. Having a stable life definitely helps children grow, but it doesn't mean that they can't be harmed. This is something Azula also states, but I just want to get my 2 cents in there too. But speaking of Azula, let's talk about what she said. Azula also acknowledges her privilege and how life has been very easy for her, and then something weird happens. She speaks about her mother and how her mother feared her, and then she makes a joke about how her mother was right all along to fear her regardless, but it still hurts.
My own mother thought I was a monster. She was right, of course, but it still hurt.
A coping mechanism people use a lot is by couching the truth in comedy. That's what Azula is doing here. We know from before her final confrontation with Zuko and Katara that the fact that her mother was scared of her is a legitimate cause of pain for her. During that scene where she argues with an illusion of her mother, she also confesses that she knows that she uses fear to control the people around her, like Mai and Ty Lee. But it's only because it's the only way she knows how to do it.
All your life, you've used fear to control people, like your friends May and Ty Lee.
Well, what choice do I have? Trust is for fools. Fear is the only reliable way. Even you fear me.
Azula isn't perfect. She's very good at a lot of things, especially things that are valued by a fascist empire. But she's not perfect. Far from it. But she's really good at playing to her strengths. In fact, I'd say she makes it so that it's the only thing that she does. Azula doesn't acknowledge her weaknesses. She's a perfectionist who has to maintain the image of being perfect, not just for herself, but for everybody around her. If she's not perfect, then why should anybody even fear her? Azula worked very hard to maintain her image, because she's never really had to deal with real failure in her life. She doesn't have the skills to cope when everything starts to crumble around her. When Azula is about to be crowned Fire Lord, is when she's at her lowest, physically, psychologically, emotionally. While Zuko has grown, Azula has seemed to devolve. But this isn't true. What we've seen is the humanization of Azula. She's no longer the unstoppable god from the beginning, she's just a person, little girl. Before the final fight, Zuko notes that Azula feels off. While he isn't as strong as she is, in fact, speaking frankly, he loses the battle. He's grown to the point where he no longer falls for Azula's lies, her illusions of being perfect. At this moment, Azula is just a person, his little sister.
There's something off about her. I can't explain it, but she's slipping. And this way, no one else has to get hurt.
Being able to tell your little sister is off is something most brothers can do pretty easily. But this is the first time Zuko has ever had empathy for Azula, because it's the first time he's ever seen her for who she truly is. Azula's downfall is what also empowers Zuko. Accepting your weaknesses, learning about yourself as a person, being honest with those around you, and most importantly, working to better yourself. Azula knows her weaknesses, but no one else can. Azula grew up in a fascist empire that valued power and strength. Her own mother feared her because she was too much like her father. After her mother left, Azula worked hard to become the perfect warrior, with the exact values in society that upheld her power. What Azula did is exactly what Mai did, but instead of being the perfect daughter for her parents, she focused on being the perfect Fire Lord for her own survival. She saw that if she acted a certain way, then she could have everything she wanted. She saw how her father treated Zuko and how weakness is viewed. If Azula kept going, she would never have to face her demons and could continue to thrive. She could run away forever. She was good at it. She was praised for it. It made her powerful. Nothing could stand in her way. But you can't run away forever. You can't rule with fear forever. Azula was the strongest, but she wasn't strong enough to keep those she loved next to her. Azula was wrong.
Even you fear me.
No, I love you, Azula. I do.
The final scene of Azula screaming in agony as she's having a mental breakdown is honestly hard to watch. This isn't a bad guy being taken down or a villain being put down. It doesn't feel cathartic to hear her scream out. We just watched a little girl be beaten down by society and her family and friends until she had nothing left, until she is empty and everything she had valued is gone. A child with nothing. Azula is a kid. This is the point I'm trying to drive home, because it is the crux of her redemption and whether or not you believe that she deserves one. Everything else hinges on that fact. Azula is a villain who causes lots of terror, fear, and pain, but she's never killed anyone. Azula has a ton of power, one of the best benders in her generation. That can be impactful if used for good. She's a young girl who knows right from wrong, but has never been guided by anyone but a literal fascist dictator. She's not blameless, but if the guy she literally killed could forgive her, who knows? The scene around the campfire hits a lot different now that I'm an adult. Now I just see a group of young kids trying to make sense of their lives and their emotions, but unable to express themselves fully because, well, they're kids. Maybe I'm a softie, but I do think Azula can be redeemed, and that she and everybody affected by Fire Lord Ozai deserve a better life. I do think that Azula can change for the better, if not for herself, then for her friends and those around her, because she really seems to value them, despite how she may act. Azula can be good.
My own mother thought I was a monster.
But maybe you disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments below. While you're down there, how about giving the video a like and consider subscribing? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!